Ladies and gentlemen, we have returned. I'm sorry for my absence. The studio was under construction, but here we are. We're here. We're ready to go. It's going to be a great time. And I've got some awesome guests with me. Coach Al, how are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great, Todd. Thanks for having me. Good morning, guys.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
Coach Sean, how are you?
Blessed and highly favored. Really excited, man, to have Coach Al here, man. All of us are actually myself, Ty. We really enjoy Coach and enjoy my brother Ty for giving us the opportunity. Let's kick it.
Of
100%.
course,
100%.
of course, guys. Well, listen, it's a new week, and this isn't exactly the most exciting week in college football. I think next weekend is going to be wild. You look at the game slate next weekend, even this past weekend, Alabama, Georgia. But Alabama has a game this weekend that you just can't sleepwalk into. Joe, happy you're in here, my man. Happy you're in here. Vanderbilt, guys, has been impressive this year. And I must say, I don't think they have a world beater at quarterback, but guys, I am a fan. Like, I'd be lying to you if I said I'm not a fan of Diego Pavia. Remember, this is the kid that walked into Jordan Hare last year with New Mexico State and laid the beat down. Though I don't contend he's a world beater, what he does have is powerful, and that's moxie. Right? Like, there is something to be said for someone who goes in there and is like, you know what? I don't care who I'm facing. I feel like I'm David and you're Goliath. And that's the attitude he brings into it. And I got a lot of respect for it. Coach Al, I've told this to Coach Sean multiple times. There's a reason why I always had a lot of respect. Shout out Janet in the chat. Hopefully your Friday and your week was good. Hopefully you're having a great lead into the weekend. Mike Jones, I see you as well. Good morning. Thank you for being here. But Coach Al, I would always tell Coach Sean, I always had a lot of respect for Baker Mayfield because you look at his story, being a walk-on, not being that five-star guy, he always had that moxie. Now, I think technically speaking, Baker's a lot better than Diego Pavia, right? But that same kind of, I don't care who I'm playing, I'm happy to be able to lace up the cleats and go out there and battle. So talk to us about Vanderbilt, Coach Al, because I think this is a game where Alabama has to be on their P's and Q's, especially on the heels of a huge win against Georgia.
Yeah, that's right, Todd. Historically, Vandy early in the season has always played Bama tough, historically. Usually because they're not beat up. Their situation is always a depth kind of thing. The players are very disciplined. They're usually one of the least penalized teams in the country. Uh, and this Clark, this Coach Lee, he's a good coach. Now, one thing about what they've done this year, they brought in New Mexico flavor on the offensive side of the ball. Okay, and this offense, if you think about how Gus Malzahn at Auburn ran that offense, they chewed up time of possession. Okay, they always had you guessing about where they're going with all this eye candy and stuff. Primarily in the run game, they really wanted to pound the rock on you. And this guy Pavia, he plays with that moxie, like you say. He has a chip on his shoulder because everybody's counting him out. Me against the world kind of attitude. But he also understands his offense, and he's the signal caller. Okay, that's big. So they're gonna run this kind of what I call a veer and shoot kind of offense. They really kind of a veer scheme. So our guys, they got to be seriously eye disciplined. So we got to get out the gate first, defensively, and take away what they like to do. We got to win on the interior, first of all, to disrupt what they're trying to do. Okay. So if we win on the interior, which I think we can do, and I looked at some of their defensive tackles, especially offensive tackles, the left guard. I think we got a shot to expose him a little bit. Okay. So I like what they're doing. We can't take it for granted. We got to come in and take care of business and get out the gate, just like we did against Georgia. It got to be the same script. We got to get out fast on offense, get them off the field, because that's what they want to do. Keep our offense on the sideline. That's what they want to do. That's their shot. So that's just part of it.
Yeah, and one of the things I love, Coach Al, it's the same thing I preached all summer, especially playing USF so early. I know everybody would almost roll their eyes when I would say it, and they'd say, "But Ty, it's USF," and I say, "I don't care. Their scheme. It's not something you see every day." And this is a brand new secondary, a brand new defensive scheme. I loved playing USF early because it's a game that you should win, but it's also a game that, I'll be honest, Coach Al, I told Coach Sean this before the season. If you were to say, hey, out of the first 3 games, are you more worried about USF or Wisconsin? My answer was USF. Because Wisconsin, schematically, I was like, I think that that's going to play very well into what Alabama wants to do. I love their coaches. This isn't a diss on Wisconsin. This is saying, hey, they run a veer and shoot, does USF. They're going to test some of these freshman DBs in a manner that these guys have never seen before, ever. I love getting that test. I love getting this test, especially before. In 2 or 3 weeks, you got Tennessee. They run the veer and shoot, and Nico and them, listen, that's a good team. That's a real good team, Coach Sean. Cover your ears.
Yeah.
Cover your ears. I know how you feel about it.
One thing I would say, look out for this early. I remember years ago when Paul Johnson was at Tech, we used to camp with them, and they ran this flex bone thing. And that's what made them kind of oddball in the ACC. Nobody could run that as fast as they could. You can't replicate that in practice. That's not something that, I don't care how many scout teams you got and how many plays you've scripted. You just can't run it at that speed. And that's why we got to really be on top of our game and be disciplined early on so they don't gas and, because we can't replicate that in practice. Now, I think that the key to that is, again, winning on the interior and breaking them down from the inside out. Period. 100%.
Love it. Coach Sean, I want you to take your thoughts on this, but also Joe Willie's got a question. He said, and I love the Corvette in the picture, Joe Willie. I got a weak spot for Corvettes. He says, coaches, do y'all agree that we have to establish the run game first with Vandy and play physical football and not play cute? Coach Sean, I want you to give me your thoughts on Vandy and then answer this question if you would.
Yeah, to answer his question, yeah, I mean the run. If you can establish the run game, everything else take care of itself. You definitely want to start getting out there, getting cutesy. With the, I mean, if they give it to you, they give you the one-on-one coverage. I understand taking it, but you always want to see the run game established if you can do it. I feel like that's the safest way to create competent offense down the road throughout the game. I feel like it makes it more difficult on the defensive coordinators if you can establish the run game, and not even if you're have some success in the pass game with the passy, right? Some great success, cool, no problem. But the great defensive coordinators at some point, Coach Al can tell you this, is gonna make it tough on you if you come out there just throwing the ball all over the yard. And I'd rather play a team that does that. It's easier for the defense to even without the talent that Vanderbilt, the talent discrepancy between Alabama and Vandy, than it is if you come out there with a team that's just punishing you, running the ball down your throat. If you do that, you're gonna always be a step ahead of the defense if you establish that run game. But as far as Vanderbilt, I mean, for Vanderbilt, I like what I see from these guys, man. I mean, Coach Al broke it down, Coach Ty, they gave it to you. They got a quarterback who got some swag to him. He got a little swag to him. And the team feed off that on third down conversions. I think these dudes are 42.9%. We're about 47%. Their passing offense is about 184 yards a game to our 265. Their red zone offense is 94%. They're number 14th. Their red zone offense has actually been better than ours. Ours is about 82%. You know what I mean? Somewhere along in there. Their rushing offense, man, about 100 as far as just the rush by itself, 169 yards to our 221. I mean, so this is a team that if you go in there lollygagging, this is not the same old Vanderbilt, right?
That's right.
Yeah, big shots out to Coach Clark Lee. This dude has done a great job at Vandy. Vanderbilt had a pretty rough schedule, and Missouri was thought of as one of the better teams in our conference. Well, don't look now, but they're a sneeze away from an L to Vanderbilt, right? You look at them defensively, man. These dudes, they're pretty good on defense too. When
Right.
you look at pass allowed, we allow 196 yards a game to their 212. Um, Red zone defense, we're about 75%. You know what I mean? I think we're like number 31, so we're long in there. They're about 83%. So they're not far behind us, man, statistically, right? And I know stats don't tell you everything, but stats do tell you some things. And so this is a team, man, that's got some players. They got some guys they brought in from New Mexico, who including their quarterback and their tight end and
Derek Kill.
E-
He's there.
Eli
Eli Stowers, yeah,
Stowers.
and
Yeah,
hey,
and that guy
he's
right
from
there,
Denton.
coach.
Kill. Yeah. Kill's
Yeah.
he's affiliated with the program.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. And you know, that guy, they got a linebacker in Longwell who could play at Alabama. I'm telling you that right now. This kid could play on our
15.
roster.
Yeah,
Yes.
15 at defensive
So
tackle. Yeah.
the defensive tackle as well.
Yeah.
These
They
dudes
will have to
is
play Saturday. Yeah. Hey,
yeah, they gotta play, man.
yeah.
You gotta go in there and play Alabama football. You can't go in there experimenting and all of that. You gotta put your foot on their neck and personally, my motivation would be the second half of the Georgia game. Yes, we won and things of that nature, but we let them dudes come back from damn near 30 points down, 20 something points down. You got to go in and establish yourself. Come out and play Alabama football and really, really, really dominate that football game. That's what I'm hoping to see.
Well, one thing I think they're motivated. Coach Saban said one of the easiest places to play in the SEC is Vanderbilt. That's out there. They heard that.
Yeah.
Okay. They heard that. They heard it from the GOAT. I'm just saying. If I was playing at Vanderbilt, if I was strapping it on Saturday, son, I'm saying, come on to Nashville. I want to see you.
Veneer, Janet, it's up to y'all.
I see Janet. Hey,
I 100% agree, Coach. Like, and some people they say, oh, you have some fans that are like they laugh whenever a team will use a motivation like that, and I'm of the mindset, why wouldn't you?
I'm telling you.
This is psychological warfare.
And look, man, let's not look over this. Let's not look over this. I mean, I have a lot of my friends that never played football that automatically feel like we're just gonna show up and dominate this team. Look, man, the biggest misconception of any football game, I'm talking about from youth league to the pros, is that mentality.
Is that mentality.
If you think just because you roll your little helmet out there that and there may be some teams that works on, there may be some teams they see the script A and they like, whoa, it's a loss. Man, you got to play, man. You have to play the game, brother. If it was just about showing up and we win, wouldn't be no need to play. We could just show up and get back on the bus and go home. You got to play the game, blocking, tackling, catching. It's still assignment based. It's an assignment based game. Yes, we got more time than that team. Yes, we should have just as many fans there as they do. But you have to play the game, guys. And these two guys on the panel will tell you that.
Yeah, I and I'm not going to lie. I said earlier I was more worried about USF than Wisconsin. I'm exponentially more worried about Vanderbilt than I was worried about Wisconsin for the scheme. And listen, I know everybody says that, oh, well, Van Dyke went down. That backup quarterback they have at Wisconsin, you talk to the Wisconsin people, he took Van Dyke to the wire in terms of winning that job. And some people were surprised that Van Dyke came out successful in that.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt, they got a quarterback that has some moxie. He believes in himself. He believes in the team. Coach Al told y'all, Vanderbilt heard Coach Saban say that everywhere in the SEC is tough to play. Except Vanderbilt. So they know they can slay Goliath. And for Alabama, I did love seeing, and I had forgotten that I guess they did this last year with the rat traps around the facility. I do like that. And I know some people are like, that's silly. And I'm like, I don't care. Even though it's silly, it is a visual representation of the mentality they are trying to get in. Ricky Smith asks, do you think Vandy will go for fourth down a lot since Georgia did? If they get into positions where it's advantageous to, absolutely. right? Like, I don't think that if it's 3rd and 10, they had first down, not successful, second down, not successful, that they'll go for it. Georgia, and Coach you can speak on this. Georgia went for 4th down a lot. One, because they blinked and they looked up and it was 28 all, right? So they like at that point, if you don't get the 4th down, what does it matter? Like it does not matter. And 2, Coach to y'all's credit, y'all did a great job of getting in 4th and manageable, 4th and 1, 4th and 2, where you had options. And I think also Bobo did a good job of understanding we're always in 4-down territory. So my 3rd down play call is a little bit trickier to prepare for than otherwise, because you don't know if I'm going to run it or if it's an obvious passing down. So listen, Vandy will go for it on 4th if they're in an advantageous position to do so. Why wouldn't you? Absolutely. Coach how are you?
Hey, man, I got internet back. How about that?
Glad to see you, Coach. Glad to see
Hey,
you.
man, there's a lot of people here in South Carolina that still don't have power. So I'm thankful to have both right now. So, hey, man, good. It's my first live since the power went out last Thursday night. So, yeah, man, just jumping back in. But Vandy going for it on 4th. There's 2 things I'll say about that. First off, you got to be in decent territory. Like at some point, for Georgia, it didn't matter if we was on our 40. We was going for it on 4th down because we had to. Also, Alabama jumped out, punched us in the mouth, but at the same time, we have the athletes to try to go for it on 4th down. Like,
very true.
I'm not saying that Vandy don't have athletes, but they don't have the roster that Georgia has to be able to try to go against Bama on 4th down. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. It all depends on how it's going. I can tell you right there, if they're down 28-0, they're not going for it on 4th down in the first half. They may do it in the second half. I don't know if Vandy's that cavalier about it, but he could also. Now, if James Franklin was there, maybe so. Because James Franklin, I don't think he really cared when he was at Vandy. So, yeah, man, I don't know. I don't see this game being a problem. I think the tide will keep rolling. I would say this. I don't know if they'll get off to as fast a start as they did against the Dogs, because that, like, for both teams, and want to caution Georgia fans, both teams, that was an emotional game last Saturday. Very emotional. And sometimes that carries over into the first quarter of the next game. So it may be a slow start for both teams, and then they end up blowing the other team out.
No, I love that. And we are going to talk about Auburn versus Georgia here in a bit, because I sent Coach Al. I'm gonna have to send this to you, and I'm gonna have to send this to Coach I sent Coach Sean. There's a meme, and it's from one of the Georgia Twitter accounts, and it's made me laugh so much. And it says the last time Georgia lost a heartbreaker to Alabama, they beat the next team. They played so bad that it literally broke the football program. And it's Mrs. Puff saying, "Oh, Neptune," with an Auburn symbol.
Hey, they about to
so
look, man.
funny.
They about to do Auburn dirty. Dirty, bro. Kirby ain't taking no prisoners on this game. I'm telling you. If I'm an Auburn fan, bro, I'm not even trying to go to this game. If I had away tickets, I'm not even going, bro. I'm telling you.
It's homecoming, so it should be.
Oh, man.
Oh, I think they're gonna. I think they're gonna exercise some demons against Auburn.
Yeah, that's a fact, man.
I'm so excited for that game. I'm so excited. Mike Jones says, "Hope Sheridan calls more tight end plays." Mike, I'm going to be honest with you, man. I don't disagree. The tight ends did a great job, but right now Jalen is operating at such a level. It's funny that people like, and listen, I respect the hustle of a Brandon Walker, because I understand, like, oh, you're a barstool guy. Like, I understand the lane you're filling, and it's all love. But he was saying that there's no way Jalen's going to be able to operate this offense. I'll be damned. They were most successful when they went 5 wide and let Jalen dissect the defense.
Empty. Yeah.
Right now, the reason I bring that up, Mike, is because I think that we're past calling dedicated things. I mean, you might sprinkle some in just to be like, hey, easy little piece of offense right here. They're letting Jalen go from read 1 to read 2 to read 3 to read 4, and he's doing it well. I mean, you look at the Ryan Williams touchdown, the first highlight touchdown he had of the year, wherever he broke the 2 dudes from Western. That was his third read. He had gone from here to here to here, back to Ryan Williams, and let it fly. I just think that we're at a point right now with Jalen where they are. I don't know how much dedicated plays you're going to get in terms of like, oh, we're dialing it up for this player in the passing game, unless it's almost like one of our gadget plays, like the Jeremy Bernard, little jet sweep, stuff like that. I don't know. I think that we're past that, though. Like, Jalen's operating at a different level right now. Coach Al, what are you thinking?
Let me say this before you hop in, Coach Al, because we hadn't really highlighted this yet for real. A few times we have. Jalen is playing well, but I'm gonna tell you something else that's attributed to the offensive line is playing as good as it's played at this point in the last 3-4 years. We've only given up, I think, 5 sacks. I think
5
total all
sacks.
season. I think at this point last year we probably had triple that, probably about 13, 14, somewhere along in there. So those Caden Proctor is doing his thing.
That double block. Did you see that?
Man, these guys all on the panel will tell you it's hard to play left tackle as a 17-year-old kid. I don't care what program you came from. I don't care how talented you are. Playing left tackle, protecting the quarterback's backside, coming straight from high school. I don't care how good you are, bro. That's a struggle at times, And look at Caden now. This kid is playing outstanding. Trust me.
And he was playing at 360.
Yeah.
He was playing at 360. He's playing at 360. A guy who is still coming into his own physicality as far as maturity. And you have speed guys at SEC caliber that have to be able to, first of all, get great hand placement, right foot placement, and some bend. You got to do all of that and still be thinking with your head on a swivel. Am I passing off? What's the game they run up front? That's a lot for a 17-year-old kid to take on, So kudos to him for improving his technique. One thing that you want to take note of what happening with the sack reduction this year is case in point with his air raid that we're running. Jalen is doing a great job of finding grass, and his scheme is set up so he can find grass. That's the whole idea of it. Okay, so if you look at early on in the Georgia game, Georgia was coming at us. So immediately, if you look at the tape, every receiver was recognizing the hot, and they were breaking the routes off, and Jalen was pop, pop, pop. The ball was coming out. So, and in a couple of them, he had free runners. He beat them with the throw. That's maturity right there, the quarterback. So a lot has to happen. It's not also on the offensive line. It's also on the quarterback processing what he's seeing fast and the scheme to complement. So a lot of things are at work here. Our staff is better preparing our team. Our team is buying into what the staff is coaching. And the game plan is excellent to scheme these guys open. So it all clicks. And it was clicking at a high level in that first game. So I think Vanderbilt has a lot to deal with here coming Saturday from our scheme because we're going to be coached up. I mean, that's who we are. We're starting to see who we are now. We're going to be smart. I mean, if you go back and look at the game, I hate to keep going back, but the preparation up front for Bama, Kirby said that we wasn't ready for that. We didn't see that before.
They didn't show it. Right.
Yeah, so that's preparation. So Vandy had to deal with our preparation and our physicality and our athleticism. So So I
look, getting this to Coach I, because before you go to, I really want to hear what Coach I say about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
You gotta give Georgia. This is why I say, man, them 2 programs is why everybody want to go to them. This is why. If you look at the adjustment Georgia made, bro, Georgia brought them safeties down just a little bit, and they started playing outside leverage on. You see the D line? They didn't give a damn about playing inside. They started playing the outside, so Jalen couldn't attack the edges no more. They damn near was giving up, gonna say, you know what? We'll live or die with the middle, but you ain't gonna attack us on the edge no more from the third quarter on, bro, they was destroying us. We kept trying to attack the damn edges. Like, bro, why do we keep running? You know what I'm saying? They were saying we are not giving that up. We don't care what y'all do, run inside, but you won't beat us to the edge no more. And they didn't. That's why Ryan had that opportunity to make the play he did. You got to give credit what credit's due, man. That tells you that Kirby's coaching staff is right there too. They adjusted. You know, a lot of teams couldn't do that. A lot of teams can't do and then have some success on the offensive side of the ball. So that was a tale of two halves, man. That game was the highest of high and the lowest of lows and back to the highest of highs again. Shout out to Brinsky. I love to hear what Coach I say about that.
Yeah,
Shout
Coach,
out,
talk to me.
shout out, Brinsky. Yeah, man. I think what Alabama and Georgia showed Saturday, honestly, at this point, again, Ohio State has the talent. I haven't, seen them play against that type of caliber. Tennessee, I would say maybe depends on where they play the game at, but like Alabama showed when they clicking on all cylinders, like it don't matter what the talent look like out there, especially when Jalen Milroe. Like, I mean, everybody played good. Let's not take that from nobody, but Jalen was on one in that first half. He was a patient runner, even though he had some big runs. He was a patient runner, and Ryan Williams is just Ryan Williams. Like Urban Meyer said, you can call whatever defense you want to. If it's one-on-one and it's up to him to make a play, he's just gonna make a play. And then on the other side, you saw what Georgia could do when their leader, Carson Beck, stopped playing. Like Carson Beck is the type where if you're gonna give him a 5-yard out, he'll take a 5-yard out. Even though the seam may be open, he'll take the 5-yard out because he'll live to fight another day. But in the second half, he was more like, and you saw that because there was a couple of times it almost was picked off, but he was more like, well, I got a guy down there. Let's let him make the play. And a lot more times we beat the on the deep ball on the 20 yards or more. And it just showed the caliber of both programs, man. It's
right.
Listen, man, I was at a Taco Mac in Atlanta watching the game, and when I tell you this is an emotional roller coaster, bro, I'm like, this is crazy. But to your point about the edges, so in the SEC championship last year, we basically spied Jalen with two people. That way, if he goes to the edge, we can get to him. And that's what they started doing in the second half. And they did leave the middle open. It was like, well, if he comes up the middle, we got a chance to get him down because we got more on the second level as well. But if we gets around the edge, he's shown in the first half, we get around the edge, like we can't even use the sideline as a help side defender because he tiptoed that one on the touchdown and then straightened up and it was over. So, and they was like, we're not letting nobody else get to the edge. Justice Haynes didn't adjust. He kept trying to get to the edge. I don't know. He should turn his nose up. And sometimes, man, as young inexperienced running backs,
had the first down on that
bounce everything outside,
to bust
man.
it to the outside.
Right. Sometimes as young backs, man, you just gotta, like in Nate Frazier did this a couple of times in the Kentucky game, like try to bounce it out. Like sometimes you just got to get that hard one or two. Just get the hard one or two, because if you bounce it out, this speed, it's just you're losing yards when you bounce it out, especially in the second half. Like Georgia wasn't going for none of that. I can tell you, I don't know what they said at halftime, but he was like, I'll tell you what, we might lose, but we won't lose on the edge. So get to the edge and figure it out. So the cornerbacks they walked the cornerbacks up a little bit more. And it was like in the first half, we was like, again, I think I told Ty I wanted to see how Kirby was going to coach going into Bama. And obviously in the first half, I still feel like Kirby was coaching not to lose. Like our DBs were 6 yards back. You know what I'm saying? 7 yards back. And like, dog, you can't give Ryan Williams 7 yards because if Ryan Williams cut one off, it was like he was supposed to have a seam route. He cut it off on just like a little short dig, got the ball, shook a guy. Now he got a first down. It's like, you can't do that.
Yeah, he put that dude on skates.
Right. So it's like, nah, dog, you got it. Even the tight end did it one time. The tight end did it in the middle of the field. Like he broke a tackle and then he got like another 10 yards for like a 20-yard gain. It's like, nah, dog, like we're going to lose. Let's lose the way we play. Don't come in playing not to lose instead of playing to win. So like I say, I think you'll see Alabama against Vandy. It may be 28-3 at halftime, but that 28 will look different. You know what I'm saying? So because again, Jalen was on fire Saturday.
Yeah, and I was just blown away with how much Jalen has progressed. Because I think Saturday, I mean, how many better secondaries are there in college football right now than Georgia?
Not many, bro.
2?
Not many.
And I mean, when we say better, we're talking about very thin margins, right?
Right.
Like
probably Ohio State. That's probably Ohio State.
There's not many analogous secondaries to Georgia. And Jalen was so decisive in this game, and that's what I loved, right?
Mm-hmm.
Last year, Jalen knows he's got an arm blessed by the football gods themselves, a deep ball accuracy that most quarterbacks train years to achieve, and he's born with it. All the athletic ability, but sometimes last year, and Coach Sean, we talked about this, the one area, shout out Coach Smoot, I'm way behind in my comments, I'm just now getting down. Last year, it seemed like there'd be times where he would wait because he's like, okay, I know once my guy gives me an inch, I'm going to let it rip. Against Georgia, there was no waiting. If he saw Dupree underneath, he would just be like, okay, bam. Like, he was so decisive in making sure the ball never touched the ground. And it was beautiful to see. I'm not surprised, gentlemen, that now he's being talked about as a possible number 1 overall player off the board. Because if that continues, he showed on Saturday that if he plays like that, he's as good as any quarterback in the nation in the passing game. And no quarterback in the nation has what he has in terms of just taking off on you and running. There are other quarterbacks that are fast. That and shout out to Fanatic's perspective. I'm going to take his phrase here. That quarterback at Boston College, Fanatic perspective calls him Sheehan Kyler Murray. Makes me laugh every single time. If you know what Sheehan is, you'll get the joke. Kid's fast, but Jalen will lower the shoulder on you, and you're legitimately like. And Hawkins at OU, that kid's got juice, right? Like he's fast. Jalen will try and run through you. Like, he will shake off tacklers because he's so physical and strong. What a game by Milroe.
Also, big shout out to Coach Sheridan, man, for actually running an offense that extenuate this kid's talent. Jalen was, I don't know if people understand, but last year on 3rd and 2, instead of doing competent offense, we run high-low and had that boy back there trying to read. You know what I mean? And then people get mad at Jalen. Why did he throw? It was just a stupid. It was an offense that didn't make no sense to nobody, right? Having 2 receivers in the same area, you know what I mean? It was just a very predictable offense. Now you're seeing horizontal stretches, stuff that will make the defense commit. Like, is he going to run? Is he going to throw? When you have a quarterback like Jalen, man, you have to make him dangerous. It's all his attributes. If you take one of his attributes away, you're not helping the team or not helping him. Now you got to defend everything with Jalen. This is how they should have used him last year. So you seeing what happens when you put this kid in a capable offense that extenuate what he do well. Now you got to make a decision.
When they had him set up and man, just 5 wide, I was like, oh, this is gonna be a problem. Empty set. Yeah. Oh, this is a problem.
Because when you're in empty set, you have to cover the 5 wide, which takes away any kind of help side in the middle of the field. And then that leaves Jalen. So now you're like, oh, is he going to run? Because so it's like we don't know what he's going to do, because empty is the best formation. Like, y'all ran empty a lot. I went back and watched and counted. Y'all ran empty a lot throughout the game. And I'm not surprised Jalen's being talked about as, the number 1 overall quarterback, possible overall pick, because he's what they wanted Anthony Richardson to be. You know what I'm saying? He's exact, like, he went number 4. Y'all remember? Like, he went number 4 in the draft, bro. Hey man, shout out to Anthony Richardson for getting his money, but bro, he wasn't the 4th overall pick. You know what I'm saying? So he's what they wanted Anthony Richardson to be. I think somebody said they were surprised that Georgia wasn't able to throw Ryan off with their physicality. That was the problem. They wasn't being physical. They was playing 6-7 yards off. Ryan is way too talented. Like, you can do that. I mean, like, Kendrick Law is a hell of a blocker. Like, he, like, manhandled Starks on that one end around or whatever. But you can play off of him when it comes to covering him.
Yep.
But you can't play off Orion. Like, you can't play off, give him that. He's like Devontae Smith that y'all used to have. Like, you can't give him a running start. Like, that's a losing battle every time.
Yeah. You know,
And
one
this
thing,
team
Coach,
close too, man. This team is close. They
I would
all
tell
support
you-
one another.
I would tell you, Coach, you know, when you go 5 wide, guess what? You can't disguise no more.
Yeah.
You got to declare.
You got to.
Yeah.
You got
You got
to.
to declare, man. So now I have an advantage now. I'm on the offense, okay? Because I made you declare. That's what 5 wide to me. You know, I want to see what you show your hand. Pre-snap.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And what's the key to 5 wide?
Yeah.
It ain't gonna work unless them 5 guys up front do their job. You know what I mean?
Big facts. Big facts.
Facts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They play well, man. Offensive line deserve super duper credit because that defensive front,
Yeah.
that scheme to block those guys like that, man, that was definitely a great job by those guys and Coach Cap.
Mhm.
So Sean, you know, Ty and I were talking a little bit earlier, and we were talking about Jaden.
Jaden
And
Daniels.
No,
Roberts.
Jaden Roberts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing that's
Sorry
a
about that.
nuanced thing that we know that I always look for, especially in big games like this, when you have an equivalency of talent, right? Jaden Roberts, if you watch him run downfield, the guy is an athlete. He can absolutely go. But what happened in the Georgia game, he had guys that were just as talented. So it exposed his technique at that level. See, so that's why, you know, at the NFL level, and guys who are elite, they are sticklers for reps and technique because they know the guy across them is just as talented. So I got to hone my technique. So actually, Alabama did Georgia a favor. Georgia did Alabama a favor in the trenches.
Mhm.
Yeah. So Jaden, I think we're going to see another jump in his game because he's going to go back and self-critique. The guy has pride. He's a superior athlete. That's what they are. You know what I mean? So he's going to over-prepare. He's probably putting in work after practice. So just something to keep an eye on about because he was getting snatched. He was a little bit far out over his skis, out over his toes, and Jordan was just snatching him the whole game. And against elite guys, they're gonna see that. Okay, so that's one big, huge marker for me. I think I want to see with Jaden. Superior athlete, going to even be a better offensive lineman after this game.
Right.
I only said Jaden Daniels because I keep hearing the NFL people on the NFL shows. Jaden Daniels is making it very easy for Jalen Milroe right now.
Hello.
You know,
When
they see when they see Jaden Daniels, that's the first thing they see is JJ. You know,
because Miro's fast. He's faster than Daniels and bigger. So
yeah.
And Jaden Daniels and Jalen Milroe lapped the competition last year in deep ball accuracy. Like they stood high above everybody else, right? Now, guys, we haven't seen him in a while.
Chris
but our
Williams.
resident Auburn fan is back. And listen, Deuce Knight,
bruh.
funny that, love those texts, by the way.
I told you he was gonna wait till they got a win, Ty, and something.
Well, it's so funny. Deuce Knight kept visiting and visiting and visiting, and he wanted to commit when Auburn got a win, and then he looked up and said, "Hell, these motherfuckers might not win again all year,
exactly.
so I gotta commit
I know
now."
I start here. Yeah.
They might not win again.
He says he smell a dynasty brewing. Y'all better stop turning the ball over.
Well,
yeah.
Coach I, have you looked at the history of Hugh Freeze teams?
Right.
They all turn the ball over.
Yep.
Right.
He hasn't developed a quarterback ever. His teams have underperformed always. He has a quarterback that he knows is the Oprah Winfrey of college football quarterbacks, gives the ball away, and with the game on the line, chooses to throw the ball. Brilliant. Brilliant. Please extend him. By the love of God, please extend him. Now, this is what I will say. I did want to dissect this. Deuce Knight, big win, because I've always said I think Deuce is unbelievably talented. Naeem offered, if you can get offered, big win as well. He's great. You're not getting Caleb Cunningham. Why would you? He's looking at Ryan Williams put up better numbers than every Auburn wide receiver. Do more, be on the national stage. He already has, unless you don't consider Travis Hunter if we consider Travis Hunter an athlete, Ryan Williams has the highest NIL valuation of any wide receiver in college football. He and Jeremiah Smith. So right now, Bama's brand is doing more for him than, I mean, you might be able to combine all those cats at Auburn, and they're still not at the level he is in terms of brand capability right now. They're great, but you know, and
is it Naeem Offer already committed to Ohio State?
yeah, but there's a lot of smoke there.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
in Auburn's favor, I will give Chris that. There's a lot of smoke there. Apparently his girlfriend goes to Auburn,
Yeah.
and we know that's
because that's stable.
We've seen that before
but
K-State.
This is the thing though, Chris. Like, if y'all were to land Naeem Offord, he's his #1 recruiting class. Do you realize like that would be a great recruiting class, but how unlikely it would be? Because right now y'all have 25 recruits, right? Like, sure, you might jump Bama if you get Naeem Offord, but you would have 6 more recruits than Alabama. If Alabama just got 6 more 4-stars, they would jump you just because of the numbers game. Like, you're behind Bama with 6 less recruits. Just if we end up with the same amount of people in the recruiting class, you're not going to finish because the average isn't going to equal. Right now, the average player ranked for Alabama is a 94.15. Auburn's doing well, 92.86. But you also have to remember, right now, arguably the best quarterback in the nation is committed to Alabama.
Fact.
And let me just say this: stars don't mean nothing if you can't develop it.
And he has not developed anything.
100%, John.
Well, he's developed something, but I won't talk about that here. Just in
And your
case
team
you do.
looks utterly ridiculous. Let's just
You know,
put that out there.
Hey, then too, coaches, look at Coach Shep. The guy has receipts of guys he put in the league.
Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, the facts are on the table. You got an elite head coach. Sheridan has proven himself to be, he's shaping up to be a good play caller. Scheme.
Yeah.
Okay. You got Coach Shep, right? And then you got Mo Linquist in the secondary, who's an NFL guy. I mean, if I'm a player and I want to add value to myself for the next level, I want to go to guys who've done it. So hats off to Auburn recruiting. We can't get them all, but once you get them, what are you going to do with them? You know what I mean? Yeah.
And let's not forget, guys, December's a long ways away.
Long
You
way
know what I
away.
mean? And Auburn is they're not trending up. So
No.
there's a lot to be said and a lot to be done before we get to December for early signing day.
100%. Yeah.
Will Cunningham was trolling y'all after he left y'all game. He ain't coming to Auburn. He was
I
like,
swear,
bruh,
Chris,
no.
Chris Williams, I swear to God, it has to be Chris Griffin. Like,
That's
I
funny.
swear, some of the times, like some of the things he says, I think it's Chris Griffin trolling me.
Look, I like Chris because Quasia said it best.
Yeah, no, I like Chris, actually.
If anything, if nothing else, Chris Williams gonna keep hope alive.
He's a good sport too, right?
Keep
Like,
hope
we
alive,
talk
right.
trash, he talks trash back. Love it. That's why,
right.
Chris, I am happy to see you, my man. Hope you're doing well. But you're not getting Caleb Cunningham.
No.
It's not happening.
I feel bad for you. Look, he said, Chris say, I'm gonna give y'all a chance to redact it. I'm gonna give you a chance to prepare yourself for what's coming Saturday with them boys from Georgia.
Hey, and Cotton right here, big Texas fan.
Bad.
He says, ironically, we swapped quarterbacks between Texas and Bama, saying, Bama's going into Texas and getting Key Russ. Texas is going into Bama and getting KJ.
Yep.
He says Duncanville quarterback is legit. Cotton, you can ask Coach Sean. You want to know who one of my favorite players in this class is, regardless of position? I love KJ Lacey in his game. I think that young man is a baller through and through. He's explosive. I love his game. And that's why whenever people were like, oh, should Bama or should Texas get Key Russ? And I was like, I don't know that I would stop on KJ. Like, don't get me wrong. I like Key Russ as well as I like any quarterback. But don't sleep on KJ, especially in that Sark system. He's a monster, man. Yeah. And he's having a good season right now without Ryan Williams. Like, kid's legit. Kid is absolutely legit, man. Very talented. Very talented. John, we were talking about Bama Vandy. I want to give you a chance to speak on Bama Vandy, what you're looking out for. I want to give y'all some numbers before we talk into what I believe will be an absolute bloodbath in one of the oldest rivalry in the SEC. But John, just to kick you off, right, to Chris Paul, to your Blake Griffin, to throw it up there.
Lob City.
Vandy has the number 73 defense in terms of team passing efficiency defense, right? So that right there, I automatically look at and I'm like, man, if Bama wants to go 5 wide, they can have success. Number 52 in the nation against the run. So not great, but not bad. Like, not bad at all, especially when they played Missouri, and that running back from Missouri, that was my biggest question, how they were going to replace that running back they had last year. They've answered the call. That young man is playing a really high-quality brand of football right now. What are you thinking, man?
I'll be honest with you, man. I dug into this game like I do all of them to try to find some sort of devil's advocate on the other side that Vanderbilt can use against Alabama and vice versa. This is one of the few games to where it's hard to put that together, to be completely honest with you. I'm honestly looking out for what Jalen Milroe is going to do in this game. You know what I mean? He, in my opinion, had his Heisman moment during Georgia, put up the numbers, looked great. Is Kalen DeBoer going to unleash Jalen Milroe to win the Heisman, right? So, or are we going to go and now kind of trying to prove ourselves through the run game now, give Jam Miller, in my opinion, Justice Haynes, these guys the ball and let them run it down Vanderbilt's throat. Caden Proctor and this offensive line, they've only been together, 2 games in a row now, all healthy. So in my opinion, I think it's going to be a bloodbath in the terms of trenches. I think this is one of those games where you want to set yourself up for success going future, because you're about to play a couple of teams that actually have pretty good offensive defensive lines. Especially Tennessee, right? So we know Tennessee's defense line can get after the quarterback. Even though they haven't put up the numbers, they still got dogs on the front 7. Let's not get it twisted at the end of the day. And I really feel like this game is going to be a volley to what you're going to see moving forward from here on out as far as offensively. And I think it's going to be you're about to see a whole lot of Justice Haynes and Jam Miller, in my opinion. And Jalen's probably going to get some runs, but I expect him to be throwing a lot more than running in this game, versus the Georgia. So, and the vice versa, to the defensive side, in my opinion, you got to get these guys completely healthy. Quay Rusall, right? You've seen these guys taped up during practices this week and stuff like that. If you don't need them on the field 100% of the time, let's not have it that way in this team. And I get it. It's a different style of offense. I mean, almost like an option, right? It feels like a triple option is what they should be running with that quarterback. But yeah, Marvin had some good points on the Bama Standard about how to defend this stuff. And it's just hard for me to evaluate this game and give you guys something from substance or of substance, right? With Vandy to push towards Alabama, and I can't. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a bloodbath. I think, once again, running back's going to take over. Jam Miller, Justice Haynes, expect them to get over 150 to 200 yards combined, in my opinion. Jalen's going to be throwing the ball to Ryan Williams to keep that momentum up, keep his Heisman hopes alive. And I think this game's going to end in a complete – it's going to be like when Vandy started off 5-0 last time. You guys remember that? And their linebacker was calling Alabama out. They're playing Vandy. They're coming to Vandy. And it's like, no. It ended up like 56 or 63-0. Same sort of circumstance, in my opinion.
So, yeah, I have Bama covering just because it's one of those things where I'm like, I think Bama needs to cover. And I know that might catch people by surprise. The line's 22.5. I think Bama needs to cover. Coach I, you put it best. This is an emotional weekend for both Bama and Georgia, especially after what that game was last week. For me, with all the new at Bama, and especially the second half, I think Bama needs to come out and say, you know what? Yeah. We lulled to sleep a little bit. We didn't counter adjust as well as Georgia. Let's get after it this week. Let's show them that was a one-off. We're going to kick ass. That's what I'm hoping to see against Vanderbilt. I think but I do. Very, very seldom do I think that a team needs to cover. I think Bama needs to cover in this game. And LaQuaisha asked, y'all don't think he's already been unleashed talking about Jalen? I think what John means is, I I think we're just seeing
Are
the
you?
I think
that-
Jalen likes to play against Georgia. So that's one of the. So it seems like he was unleashed, but he was really just, he's just getting there. To be honest with you,
that's the
I don't
scary
think
part.
he's, because in the second half, you want him to be like you saw him unleashed on the first, I guess you would say, first 4 drives. Mentally, I felt like he thought the Dogs were done, and you could kind of tell, with some of his runs in the second half, he wasn't as determined to get a yard. He was more determined, all right, let's just live to fight another day type thing. When he's unleashed, you'll see 4 quarters of Jalen Milroe, trying to go at it.
And that's not going to look good for the opposing team.
So
No,
One thing I would say is, just one point, personnel wise, Vandy has personnel up front for a change. Look at those guys.
I do.
They
look like SEC linemen.
Yeah, right, Coach. 100%, man. I'm looking at those cats, man. They're not. They look like they've been in the weight room. I mean, across the board, So yeah, we take them. I think we cover. But give them the credit, man.
Now I'll say this: Clark Lee's done an amazing job.
Yeah, they went to Missouri.
Clark
Played
Lee.
those guys. They played them off their feet, man. I mean, I give them SEC players, man. I give them credit.
Yeah. Somebody got to get the other side of this, and I'm the pessimist by nature. So let me get the other side of it.
I love it. I love it.
I tried to look at it.
I'm the same way, Coach. I'm the same way.
It's too much Bama love, man. We got to get the other side of it. Now, I don't have no doubt that we're gonna go in and put belt to ass. I don't have no doubt about this.
It's already
but
over.
After that's, you know what I'm saying? Like that second half, we got beat up pretty good in the second half of that Georgia game. We got picked on in the secondary. We didn't get a lot of pressure on Carson Beck, and they picked on our young corner who made a great. And honestly, we being honest, that was a lazy throw by Carson Beck. He just kind of threw it out there. You got to sit. I don't know how tall number 8 is, but that boy tall. You should have.
I'm not even mad at that one though, Coach Sean. I'm mad at the one before that where he should have thrown it to the corner of the end zone.
Oh my God.
Come on, Carson. It's like throw it out of bounds. It's out of bounds or your guy gets it. That's it. Like
facts, man. All 100% facts.
So, but he made a play. He had a bad game, but he made a play when it counted.
He came back from that first half with a vengeance. Right. So for me, man, is that gonna carry over? Right? These are still 18 to 22-year-old kids, man. Riding high right now. Got all the highlights and everybody praising you. Everybody Bama. 12 million people watch this game, the most watched game they had in 3 or 4 years on there. Wow. You success breeds complacency, man. Even when you don't even know that it's doing it.
That's right.
I know this personally. We all know this. Success breeds complacency. Say what you want about the coaches or whatever. You got to, it's just what it is. Coach, I made a point earlier, like he wouldn't be shocked to see if they come out a little lethargic, early. I want to see, because I think the same thing. You got a lot of success right now. A lot of success. That Georgia-Bama game is like did y'all watch the exuberance from both of those fan bases? That shit was like a championship game, man.
It was.
That was like a championship game, brother. So I need to see us. Go on the road to a hot Vanderbilt. I remember 3 weeks ago, how much ever weeks it was, the Georgia fans had the same vitriol for Kentucky. We just gonna go in. What you think the score gonna be? 61 to 10, 85 to 2.
I was telling them it was like it's not gonna look like you think it's gonna look.
And that's Kentucky why I think we need to cover, Coach. Is because and that's what Ty was saying.
Facts. That's to Ty's point. And Kentucky, all they did was fight. They fight, give us a chance to look up in the fourth quarter. And next thing you know, as a Georgia fan, you in a fight that you really don't even deserve to be in. This should be a blowout. But you gotta play the game, brother. You gotta line up and play the game. And Vanderbilt is playing with some swag right now. Missouri thought the same thing. It's gonna be 85 to 6 at halftime. You know what I'm saying?
And on reverse, that happened to Vandy. Vandy thought it was going to Georgia State just to lay down.
Same thing.
And Georgia State was like, wait a minute, dog, y'all in ATL.
Yeah,
I was like,
you gotta play the game, is all I'm saying. I have no doubt. Yes, I have no doubts the belts are coming. All I'm saying, people, is you gotta play the game. We can talk about it, but you got to show up. You got to play the game. Vanderbilt want to prove themselves. Clark Lee want to prove himself. We just coming off a great win against a great team. What better time than to look up and make Alabama fight to the fourth quarter? So we got to go in and play our brand of football. Forget about last week, right? And I think we'll be just fine.
Would comfort? Go ahead, Coach.
I was gonna say I feel like Bama will cover, but you may see some inverse on like last week. Keon Sabb didn't have a good game. He probably is
Yeah, he
gonna
did
have a
not.
good game.
Fact.
You know what I'm saying? Milroe may not start out 11 for 11. He's not gonna. I don't think he's gonna turn it over, but he may start out 10 for 16 or something like that. But in the end, I think Bama covers. But like Coach Sean said, like this means more to Vandy than it does to Bama.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Way more. I mean, because it doesn't matter if they don't win another game. If they can just cover, that looks good for Vandy. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, what you say, 22 is the spread?
22 and a half.
22 and a half. If Vandy loses by 16, that's a good look for Vandy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And one shout out to Clark Lee, man. He's a Vandy grad, played at Vandy. Like he's got them with that school pride. I would say Vandy normally doesn't have school pride on the football field. So I think, again, Bama's going to handle business ultimately, but I mean, I don't know if they're going to go 4 for 4 like they did last Saturday on the first 4 drives. It may be more of a 3 for the first 5 or something like that. So,
yeah. And what comforts me is the track record with Kalen DeBoer. So his track record is he gets up big on big games, and then he'll let off the gas a little bit. If you go back and look at his past, that's happened at Washington. Now it's happened to Alabama. It's even happened at Fresno State. But what he tends to not do is have that inferior complex or whatever you want to call it, to where he'll go into a game where we should win by big points, and he typically does cover those spreads. As a gambler, I pay attention to that stuff because I bet on this stuff every weekend. And that trend, yeah, exactly. And that trend shows me that, Alabama should come out and cover, right? So that's what kind of covers me a little bit. And shout out to, like you said, man, Clark Lee's done an amazing job there. I think he's done better there since, I would say, James Franklin is probably the last one to do what he's doing there.
Yeah, this is a very impressive year for Vandy.
So, yeah, Clark Lee's not going to stay at Vanderbilt very long. So,
Oh, wow.
That's going to be interesting because I think he's good enough to coach elsewhere, but he's a Vandy alum. So that's always that thing. Like, can you get him away? But Vandy's a different story. It's not like he's at a program that can actually win an SEC title. So he may, I don't know.
So before we transition into Georgia Auburn, I did want to talk about this right here. Trojan Fight saying Beck should have kept targeting Jackson. No, he shouldn't have.
What?
Like you check out the all 22.
I was about to say the money had a pretty good game.
Receivers in hell. The one reception he gave up in key moment was the wide receiver did a great job on the release to get inside on that slant. Beck hit him in stride.
Yeah.
Outside of that, Damani was on them like stink on poop. I mean,
Damani's played a lot better this year at Bama than he did at USC.
Well, he doesn't have Alex Grinch
by far.
Coaching. It's the coaching, Coach. I mean, Mo's holding them to a standard. Okay, you're gonna have to come to work every day. You got to work on the details. I mean, this is like when Bell caught that pass. That was a communication issue. That was not Sabb's fault. The cornerback should have stayed deep over the top. He got to know that they miscommunicated that. So that's going to get cleaned up next week when you see that twirl dig thing go that Georgia did. That was a great call by Bobo, okay? Because obviously he got somebody in his ear. They charting plays. They knowing how we defend and, the dig. And so in that cover scheme we had over to the field over there, the cornerback should have bailed deep. They both bit, and Bell was deep over the top. So
and we ran. To your point, Coach, we ran a couple of those just dig routes in the middle right there in the first half, and you guys were like on it like white on rice.
That's right.
So, and that's what I think Bobo saw. He was like, all right, well, if they're going to bite hard, let's give them a dig and go. Just give Carson some time. And, luckily Carson made that throw. Communication. That's you hit it, Coach.
And then that last interception, I loved whenever Womack was talking about it. And he's like, no, we realized that whenever, because if you go back in that fourth quarter, they did one on Jalen and Mbakwe, where Jalen was in. Coach Al, what were we talking about before we kicked off? Jalen was in stack. He wasn't in trail,
That's
so
right.
Carson threw it behind him.
Threw it behind him. He threw him open.
He kept doing it, right? Like Bama defenders were on top of the and so Carson, being a smart, savvy quarterback, was like, okay, I'll take the under. And he kept going almost back shoulder. Well, finally, Womack and Zabian Brown said, no more of this. And then he played the under interception, right? Like that was a really nice adjustment. The other thing I want to ask y'all this very quickly, because Ephraim, you have a great point talking about clock management. But here's something I almost had a light bulb go off in my head, guys. Do we think that they kept snapping the ball within 15 seconds because that's when the communication to the quarterback cuts off and they were able to identify what Georgia was in and they didn't want it to last any longer so that the offensive coordinator could be in the ear of Jalen and be like, hey, this is what we're seeing, go now, because we've already identified it. Do we think that's a possibility or?
Well, he kind of addressed it during one of the conferences saying that through the end of the third is when he actually caught it. So he said he wasn't aware of how fast the play clock was coming down because he was paying attention to other things. I do think that is a possibility, though. I mean, my whole thing from the beginning, here's my take on this from the beginning, is Coach Sean, me and you already spoke on this. What's your game plan when you go up 28-0 on Georgia? Is there one? You know what I mean? Like, do you really think that's going to happen?
That's
so yeah, you going tempo for the defense?
Well, I just noticed that, and this is another thing I tracked. They didn't really snap after that 15 seconds. It was always before, and I was like, well, what's the commonality there? Yeah. Helmet communication. So is it just that they've identified what Georgia's in, and they don't want Georgia to adjust? Because this isn't new for Georgia. This is new for Bama, meaning this is a brand new scheme for Bama. This is not brand new for Georgia.
My thing is not even the snap count. My thing is not the play when you snap the ball. My thing is the play calling.
No, 100%. 100%.
If your defense is clearly gassed, bro. Me and Coach Al, me and Ty, they're clearly gassed. I mean, like I seen Jahad Campbell for the first time stooped over with his hands. They gassed, bro. They just left the field. They back out here again. And Carson ain't taking no prisoners. He's definitely going to chunk that thing deep. We already going zero coverage across the board, right? Single high safety, right? So you already challenging us. You know, we're going to run a deep route. We're going to run a 9 on you, and y'all just going to see if y'all can run with us. If you know that, we get a stop or they score, whatever you want to call it. We right back on the field. Why are we running tempo? Like, why are we and then we running out of bounds. Every chance we get, we run out of bounds. We attacking the edges. They've adjusted the edges. Jalen running out of bounds. Running back running out of bounds. Like, what? Why do y'all keep going out of bounds? You saving and the defense gas, bro. And we going as fast as we can. I'm like, bro, I now that I don't understand.
Listen, I told me and Coach Sean talked about this yesterday, and I was when I was watching the game, we was it was like I want to say a little bit over 7 minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And we were down 21-33, and my boys like, hey man, we need to call a timeout. I'm like, why? I'm like,
we doing it now.
I'm like, they doing it for us. I'm like, they're not getting a lot of yards and they're not trying to run the clock. We got 3 timeouts plus the 2-minute timeout. I was like, Kirby's not gonna call a timeout. Like, I went back to actually look at the clock when y'all was snapping the ball, man. And I'm going to tell you, the one time you ran the clock down, it was a punt. Like, the punter waited until it was 2 seconds left on the clock. And there was several times, like even when we made it 28-33, the next drive, like you had a chance. So on the first down, you ran. Second down, you snapped the ball with 22 seconds left on the play clock. You got a first down. So now, and Coach Al and Coach Sean, you know this, like now when you've created another set of downs, you really can dig into that clock. Exactly. And it's not even to dig into the clock; it's really to make the other team start using their timeouts.
Exactly.
But after getting that first down on the first, it was a run play, but you snapped it with 17 seconds left. You get up on second down, you pass the ball in empty, and you snap it with 20 seconds left.
Yeah,
like. You're leaving basically a whole timeout by not holding the ball until the end. And like you said, that defense was, I mean, Georgia scored when it came out of halftime. Georgia scored. The next, when you guys get it, but your first drive of the second half, you go 3 and out. It only takes 23 seconds off the clock because you, again, snapping the ball fast. And then you get it right back and you literally the second possession of the second half of Bama, you were running tempo. Snapped
5
it.
runs the entire second half.
So you snap it with 8 seconds left. I'm like, okay, they running clock. The next 2 plays, you snap it with 29 seconds on the clock. And these are times I didn't even chart the ones where the clock was stopped for injury, penalty, whatever. But the clock is running. You snap the ball 2 times in a row with 29 seconds. I'm talking about hustling up to the line. No huddle, no.
Max.
It's just like, let's just go. It's almost like they called 3 plays and it was like, let's just go. And I'm
That's
like,
why I was like, I wonder
okay.
if it was one of those things where it's because of communication and they didn't want Georgia to try and adjust to what Bama was doing. Because you got a lot of veteran people in that Georgia defense who understand what Kirby wants, and you don't have a lot of veteran people on Bama's defense. You do have veterans, but on Bama's offense that understand what DeBoer wants. Like the only one, there's 2, Cuevas and Jeremy Bernard, because they're the only 2 that have been with him for a year. Everybody else were still in the months. So, right. I mean, listen, great game. But Coach I do want to, I just sent you a text that has made me giggle for days now. I do want to let you talk about this game coming up. And that is the oldest rivalry in the SEC, Auburn versus Georgia. I've already shared the meme with everybody once. I will do it a second time. It's this right here. And it says, the last time Georgia lost a heartbreaker to Alabama, they beat the next team they played so bad that it literally broke the football program. It's Mrs. Puff from SpongeBob with an Auburn symbol, and she's sweating, and she's saying, oh, Neptune. I'm not going to lie to you, Coach. I think y'all are going to exercise demons on Auburn. I think y'all are going to beat the hell out of Auburn. And I'm here for it. Listen, I'll send you an edible arrangements if y'all do. I don't know. We'll figure something out. Talk to me about this game.
I'm like, yeah, man. And actually, I'm headed to Athens for homecoming. So I'm about to get out of here in a minute. But I'm like Coach Sean, man. I'm the guy that watches the film when we win 63-3 against Florida State. I'm like, you see, they could have scored right there. You know, like I'm that guy. So I think Georgia wins comfortably. Now, it was 23.5. I think it's 22 now. It could be a 21-point win. So for you bettors out there, I don't know. You may want to take Auburn in those 22. I think, again, it's emotional. I think Georgia and Alabama may start games the same way today. I think the first quarter, we may even be moving down the field, but we may have to settle for some field goals early. It depends on how Carson comes out. If y'all think back to the last 2 touchdowns for Georgia, Carson was like jacked. And Carson never gets jacked. But if he comes out like that, kind of like if Milroe comes out dialed in today like he did last Saturday, if the 2 triggermans come in like they did, when they were playing good last weekend, then yeah, both are gonna be bloodbaths. But I don't know. I just 18 to 22-year-olds, there's a lot of emotions going around. I can see us starting with some field goals and then turning it up, late second quarter. And then kind of run it. I mean, I'm personally not worried about Auburn winning the game because, it's like, if we're going to be honest, it's kind of like Georgia beating Alabama. We just don't do it. And Auburn just doesn't beat Georgia. Even at Auburn, it gets a little close, but they still don't beat us. That's just what it is. 16.
And it's not in Auburn.
Right. And so, it's homecoming, players going to have a lot of family in town. So, We'll see how it goes. I think we win comfortably, but it might be 21. It might be like a 35-14 type deal. And, but just for you bettors out there.
Give me 63-3, a repeat of the bowl game.
Listen, if Carson come out hitting his helmet like he did in the 4th quarter against Bama, then they in trouble. Because if Carson, we go as Carson goes. If Carson is dialed in and hyped up, because that's Kirby wanted him to work on that in the offseason. Like Stetson played with swag, man, and the team played with swag. You know what I'm saying? Like Carson. It's good as a coach. We know it's good that he doesn't have a whole bunch of highs and lows because he's always steady. It's the reason why he was able to perform in the second half last week, because he wasn't too low, wasn't too high. But I'm just saying, we've been holding things back for Georgia. Okay. You still
my
got to
thing
pay.
is like, well, no, that like
Losing games
this
to hold
has to
back?
be a troll because
I know.
how can you hold back when you're losing?
Right.
Like if your coaching staff is losing football games and still holding stuff back, they need to be fired.
Well, I mean, they could have beat
Facts.
them 9 out of 10 times, right? So I mean,
Right.
Just
Right.
Touche,
Right.
man.
Oh my God.
I'm telling you
That's
that
perfect.
Georgia's going to beat him so bad that you're going to see the next game Auburn plays. It's going to be like that Liberty game for Hugh Freeze where they show him coaching from the hospital bed, laying there,
Right.
dialing in plays. Like,
Before I get out of here, let me address From and the dual threat thing. And this is to some of the Georgia fans out there too. It's not that we don't recruit them. We just don't get them. And if we do get them, they don't turn out to be what we thought they was going to be. Justin Fields was in
Fields,
Athens,
yeah,
by the way.
yep.
Jaden
DeJuan
Rashad's there
Mathis,
right now.
DeJuan Mathis
Yep.
was in Athens. I mean, we just won back to back with Stetson Bennett. If he's not a dual threat, I don't know what is a dual threat.
You got that right.
Brock Vandegrift and Gunnar Stockton, for that matter, are dual threat quarterbacks. Now, I'm not big on their passing ability. We actually had to beat on Caleb Williams, but he wanted to wait till signing day and get all the pomp and circumstance. Kirby wanted somebody to commit right now, so Brock Vandegrift, decommitted from OU, came to Georgia. So the fact that to say that we don't get dual threats, now you can say they don't work out, but to say that we don't get dual threats is not factual. So and the number one quarterback in the nation in 2026 is committed to Georgia, and I would say he's dual threat as well.
That kid's a monster.
Yeah.
This is how I know Chris. This is
Yeah.
I respect the
Oh
trolls, right?
man.
I swear this is
I'm
Chris
about to
Griffin.
go. On that
I
note,
swear this is
I
Chris
know.
Griffin. I swear this is Chris.
Have fun,
hey
Coach.
man, I appreciate y'all for having me on, man. I'm about to get
Be
ready to
safe,
hit the
Coach.
road to Athens, man. I'm just,
Yeah.
we're glad to have internet back, man. We'll be back live next week.
All right, Coach.
Hey, have a great time. Have a great time at homecoming, Coach. All right,
Facts.
All right, Coach. Y'all be easy, man.
All right, bro.
Be safe, Coach. All right, guys. I want to get y'all's take on this. I'm just joking that I think it's gonna be 63-3. I think it'll be 63-10. Not really. But I do firmly believe Georgia's going to exercise demons.
Yeah.
And whenever I look at this, Alabama in the first half against Georgia, they did stuff that, as long as I've watched DJ Durkin, I've never seen DJ Durkin do some of the things Womack was doing, right? It's very akin to this, gentlemen. Auburn lost the game to Oklahoma because Oklahoma showed something at the line and then backed out of it. And it was really a 2 to 3 man rush, right? I can't remember how many exactly. But whenever you look pre-snap, I was actually wrong in this. And I went back, pinned the comment at the top of my video. OU showed that they were going basically like a cover 1 to cover 0. Like, hey, we are just going all out. It ended up only being a 2 to 3 man rush. They backed everyone out. Bama was doing some of that same stuff where they were showing you one thing. It was a 3-man rush. Thank you very much for that, Boomer. Thank you very much for that. Bama was showing Carson Beck stuff at the line and then changing out of it. But then it would be like the Sark philosophy where we're going to show you the same thing 10 times, but we're going to do 10 different things out of this one formation. So that when we show you at the 11th time, you're sitting there like, I have no idea what possibly could be coming out of this formation because you've done everything. We do cover 3, cover 6, cover 2, cover 1. Like, I don't see Durkin and them doing that. I think when they blitz, it's going to be more like a DJ Durkin blitz, which I'm not saying isn't effective, but I don't see them doing what Womack just did to Georgia. Am I overthinking this, guys? Because it's not like you're going to abandon your identity for 1 week and then try and be Kane Womack. If you try that, you're going to get your ass kicked.
Right.
I already know what Coach Sean's going to say. You're going to play the way you want to play, right? You're going to play to the best of your ability. Right, Coach Sean? I'm assuming he preached that to me the last time we made a video together.
Yes,
So
sir.
that's sticking in my mind.
Yes, sir. All facts, man. You can't hide who you are, man, at this point. You know, you can adjust. Coach Al, you you can adjust and you can try to implement some new things. And you got teams like Florida State that's still switching quarterbacks.
Oh
So
my gosh,
Right.
man.
at
Yeah,
some point, man, you are who you are, brother, and you just got to roll with it. You just got to do the best you can with what you have. That's why
Yeah.
recruiting to your identity is so important, right? You just don't recruit kids because they the best. Some positions you do, but that quarterback position, you got to recruit to what you want to do, right? Like
Yeah.
each head coach, especially if you're an offensive coach, right, Coach Al, you want the quarterback that fits what you like to do, what you want to do.
That's
And
right.
if you don't have that, you got to try to mold that quarterback, a la Jalen Miro, a la Kalen DeBoer, to what you like to do. You got to go open that old playbook and pick out, you like this? Okay, let's keep that
Right.
one. You don't like this.
Right. Right.
You know?
That's right. And then I really don't know who Auburn is. I really don't know
Me either.
who's quarterback.
No.
Right.
I
I
think
don't.
anybody does.
I mean, if I'm Auburn's quarterback, I'm looking over my shoulder because I'm not sure when coach is going to pull me.
Facts.
Does he have the team? I mean, who's the leader? I mean, I don't know. Now you're going to go between the hedges on the road and SEC and play a wounded dog. That's what you're getting ready to face right now. And guess what? They're gonna have a scheme for you. They're gonna pressure you. They're gonna affect the quarterback. They know he's turnover prone, that kind of thing. So I think they're gonna have a hard time. I think what I want to see out of Georgia in this game is I'd like to see Carson Beck establish the chemistry between who's the guy that he trusts in his passing game. It's just like Jalen said, I trust number 2.
Yep.
And it showed up in the pressure situation. Who did he go to? Number 2.
Gotta have that guy. Facts.
And I like to see Carson. He had Brock and he had McConkey last year. He knew these guys. He knew what they were going to be. Those guys were ballers. And I don't know if he's established that kind of chemistry in his receiving corps just yet. So it should be a game for them to kind of clean some of that up and start building that trust in what they want to do in the passing game. I think they cover. I think they take care of Auburn.
What is the line on this game?
It's like the Georgia game or Georgia Auburn game.
What is it, 21?
Yeah, it's 20. I believe it's 21.5 now.
Give me Georgia by 40.
The numbers are pointing to a Georgia blowout now because the money's starting to roll into Georgia, which is the gamblers telling me one thing. And Vegas don't lose money.
They don't lose money. That's right.
So,
This kind of week, after what happened last week, there's not a lot of matchups that garner a lot of attention, but you got to go to College Station.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys looked at that one. There's a game happening out there, folks.
Missouri A&M, and
That's
I'm not going
really
to lie.
There's a game in Columbia, South Carolina, folks.
Well, Coach Al,
Yeah.
a team that I did not think I would be, I won't say worried, but damn, for lack of a better word, worried about for Alabama is South Carolina. Like, they are playing some damn good. That defensive front they have is unbelievable. It's top 5 in the nation, no question, right? They have that freshman. He and Colin. First off, guys, have you ever seen a better freshman class than what we're seeing right now?
Oh, man.
No.
Colin Simmons, Dylan Stewart at the edge are genuinely, like, they would be draft picks. If they came out this year, they would both be draft picks. Ryan Williams, Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Wingo, Brian Wesco, Cam Coleman, Perry Thompson. Listen, I'm not mad at Perry Thompson. And Cam Coleman's got to get a bit better when the ball hits you in the hands.
Yeah.
Catch the damn ball. But also, I don't think, John, I think part of it is he doesn't trust his quarterbacks not to get him blasted over the middle.
You nailed it. You nailed it right on the head. Because my next response was going to be, do you trust Peyton Thorne to not put you in danger?
No, he doesn't trust him.
So no,
he can throw him.
And we've seen what he's thrown this year, which tends to be down the seams in the middle and between linebackers, and he's getting these guys absolutely murdered in the middle. So no.
Yeah. So, I mean, then you look at Bama's secondary: Mbakwe, Zabian Brown, Red Morgan. This freshman class, Caden
Yeah.
Durham at LSU, they finally gave him
Durham,
the ball.
Oh man, forgot about him. Yeah.
From
There's-
Duncanville.
Yeah.
Coach Al, I'm going to tell you something crazy. And then I do want to cover that game. I am about to have to go. So I do want to tell you this, though. At Duncanville, they did the regionals for track here in Texas. And to qualify for state, do you know what the cutoff was at that regional here in Texas at Duncanville?
But 100 meter,
Yeah. Oh, there goes my camera.
10.6.
It was a 10.45.
Holy.
That was to
Wow.
qualify.
If you didn't
Man.
run better than a 10.5, you
That's
didn't make
ridiculous.
state.
That's ridiculous.
Man.
Caden Durham
tough.
ran like a 10.4 and was like second. Like,
Man.
That's moving, bro. I know that personally. That's moving.
Hey, you know, sometimes, you know, I was talking to some guys this yesterday, some Georgia guys actually over here. And and I was telling them about a guy that didn't even play in the game for us. That's another Jalen who didn't even play in the game for us. Who's like a 10.49 guy who got injured in the spring, who was supposed to be cute, wide receiver 1 coming in. Okay.
yeah,
He's from Texas,
man.
by the
Can
way,
you
okay?
imagine?
14.
Another Jalen,
Yeah.
by the way. You know, and I'm saying he might be back by the end of the year.
Can you imagine Bernard, Ryan Williams, Jalen Hale, and Law? Like, that's so much. Because Bernard's playing high quality football, ladies and
Man.
gentlemen. Do not be
Yeah.
fooled into thinking it's just Ryan Williams. Jeremy Bernard is out there balling right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's address the speed component you were talking about, Ty. You know,
Facts.
Yeah,
we got
100%.
elite guys with speed component. And guess what? Jalen Hale's from Texas.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
speed out here, coach,
Yeah.
is
Crazy.
ridiculous.
Yeah, speed kills.
This is my final thought on Georgia and Auburn. I'm gonna be watching Mike Bobo because and I say that because the way he opened up against Alabama was so predictable, like just bombing it. That's usually not what Georgia do. Then now they finally got their sea legs under him during the course of the game, second half, but just opening up about whatever it was, 4 or 5 straight passes, bombing it down the field, like that was very un-Georgia-esque, right? They usually establish the run and they'll play action you and hit you with the deep pass when it's time. You know, third and short, you thinking they about to line them pounding, and they play action you and bomb it over your head. That's real crazy. That first half, it seems like Mike Bobo was a lot off balance, right? Even the second half, the way they scored, the deep balls, it wasn't just like he had this methodical passing game. Now they did have some long drives, running the ball, short passes. I want to see what Mike Bobo does this game from the jump. How does Mike Bobo rebound and come out and go against an Auburn defense that'll probably be desperate on the road at their rival Georgia? My eyes are gonna be on Mike Bobo for this game, and how does he really lead that offensive script against Georgia? At Auburn at home.
And to your point, coach, this is going to sound, excuse my language, ass backwards. But one of the things Bobo benefited from, especially later on in the Bama game, was he knew, I don't care if we're on our own 30-yard line. I'm going for it on 4th because if I don't, we haven't shown any semblance until the second half, of course, of stopping this offense. We don't know what's up, down, left, right. Like, they are hitting us with everything. By the way, that throw to Jam Miller, come on now. The way
Can't
he
throw it no
put
better
it,
than that. Facts.
where it went right over the defensive back, and Jam just did that. Beautiful.
Well, can I just sorry, go ahead, Ty.
What I was going to say is Bobo in that game against Bama, he had the full playbook open because he knew third down is essentially second down.
Second down, yeah.
Yep.
He's not going to have that in this game. Go ahead, John, and then we're going to hop out of here.
Are we, is anybody going to actually address the elephant in the room for Georgia? They can't score in the first half. This is not a one team like against Alabama issue. They've scored 16 points total in the first half against Power 4 competition. They scored 6 against Clemson, right? They scored 7 against us, and they scored 3 against Kentucky. That's not a one-game issue. This is a Mike Bobo in that offense needs to figure out what's going on in the first half, or you may be losing more games in the future. You can't afford to go down big against a Tennessee, a
Especially
Missouri,
against
or a team like
Texas.
that, Texas,
on the
and then
road.
expect to
Yep.
continually come back. So I think that's got to be resolved. And I think that at the end of the day, Kirby gave that speech. This team felt like they let him down in a sense. And I think Auburn's about to pay for it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's it.
Thanks.
All right, guys, we're going to hop out of here. I got to hop over to Bleacher Report, but we're going to go around the table as always. Coach Al, you want to shout out anything, where your Twitter is, if you're going to create a YouTube channel, where
His
they can find
page.
you?
Yeah,
Make
you
his
catch me on
page.
Twitter, Al-San79 on Twitter. That's me.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
John,
At Bama Nation, John on Twitter, then at Bama Standard Network, hosting Roll Tide Cafe. So, which will
by
be
the way,
yeah, I was about to say, I don't know if you wanted to say something on it.
now every Thursday mornings, you can catch me with John on Roll Tide Cafe with the
Nice.
Bama Standard. So that's
Nice.
going to be a ton of fun.
Oh,
Really
yeah.
excited about that. Coach Sean, talk to me.
JMHO Sports Talk. Please tap in with me on Twitter. JMHO, it stands for just my humble opinion. On Twitter and YouTube. JMHO Sports Talk on Twitter and YouTube.
Love it. And with that, the sixth member of the panel who's held their tongue all morning long, but now I can have them hold it no longer. And that's the spinning wheel of doom. And it spins. Thank you for being here.